What's up, everyone? Welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So one of my audience members asked a question a few hours ago, about a day ago, and said, can you recommend a channel to learn how to build a PC? It's a very good question, but in this particular video, what I wanted to say is, even if you watch a channel or watch YouTube channels that are going to show you how to build a PC, most of them are going to recommend the parts and the components that they use. However, there is something that I think is very critical that you learn so that when you're watching these videos, it actually comes together in a very organic way, and that is compatibility. What I mean by compatibility is when you're buying your PC components, you're going to need to have a knowledge of what is compatible with each other in terms of CPU and motherboard and the RAM that goes with it. So let me give you an example of what I mean. Now, you buy your CPU. If you maybe want to buy Intel or AMD, that CPU is only going to work with a specific motherboard chipset. Does that make sense? A chipset is pretty much the design of the motherboard's socket and some of its features that will support the CPU. So it's just like, say, you want to change oil in a car. In order for you to be able to change oil in a car, you need the right oil filter that is designed for that spec of car. That kind of compatibility is basically what we're saying here. Even when you want to put the oil in the car, you still have to have the correct weight of oil, 5W30, 20, whatever it is that goes into the engine. That's a third component, and it's all about compatibility, and you're giving the specs. So when you buy a CPU that is an AM4 CPU, if you look at it right here, it will say AM4. This one here says AM4. You know that you're in the AM4 generation. That's basically the Ryzen generation of CPUs. You can get into the AM5 generation, but then you're going to have to get yourself a motherboard that uses the AM5 chipset. Keep in mind that when you do the AM5 chipset, you now have to get yourself DDR5 RAM, which is the new RAM module that is compatible with the chipset for the AM5. If you're doing AM4, you will get the DDR4 RAM, which is compatible for them as well. And the different motherboards, Exit 570, B550, all of that, they have their compatible, CPU specs that go with them. Some of these motherboards take like your Threadripper CPUs. Those CPUs have a very different architecture and have a different socket, so you also have to be very careful. But for the most part, that CPU that I just showed you will go with a B450 motherboard. If you want, it can go also with a B350 and a B550. But I think as you get to B550, you're going to need a CPU from the B450 era to go ahead and pretty much change your BIOS to be able to be compatible, which is a whole different conversation, but AMD can hook you up with that. But once you understand the compatibility, I think you're pretty much set. When it comes to your GPU, that is basically, your PCIe generations. And, this depending on the motherboard you're using, you can get access to PCIe 4.0 or whatever it is. And those are then little, I would say minor things that you have to basically take into account with your NVMe and, how that's going to be able to access its speeds and so on and so forth. But those, again, are just micro levels of compatibility that you pretty much will start taking a look at on a very, very minuscule level. But the grand scheme of things, the high level view is that you understand the way compatibility works within the CPU, the motherboard, as well as the RAM module. We could have done an Intel one, but Intel gets a little bit more, they've started to simplify their architecture, but this is the crux of the matter in understanding compatibility. So now you can go on Jay's 2 cents. You can go on Linus Tech Tips, Austin Evans, Gamers Nexus. I don't think they really do too many builds, but it'll talk about different things. But a lot of these YouTube channels are very, very educational in the way that they actually show the process. There's another person I think called Paul's Hardware. He used to work with Newegg, and then he started his own YouTube channel. Very, very educational YouTube, content creator in terms of building and developing, ideas for putting gaming pieces together. So that's pretty much what I think you'll need for the most part. So thanks for watching the video. Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. I appreciate you guys' time and audience, and hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.